Hello, I'm Amanda Belton. I'm a data scientist, information designer and animator taking research data into the digital realm. My research has come from wanting to be included, to have agency over my data, to organise my work for well-being. And this time capsule documents a turn to head in the direction of unlearning and decolonising my approach to data. So I'm going to talk about learning from Indigenous knowledge of the stars, about handing on family recipes, about designing a process, giving some context about context. But all of this is about asking who. Who can tell my story? Oh, and I'm going to throw some firewalls, but mostly I'm talking about data. This time capsule is a chance to reflect on my research this year and to speculate on futures made possible by my research. I hope, future me, that you're in an age where Indigenous knowledge is central to our understanding of the world, a world that is accessible to the neurodiverse and where we all have agency over our data. It's 2021 and we're in our second year of the plague. For me, it has been a year of learning about Indigenous knowledge in the stars, of exploring how virtual reality could communicate knowledge held by our first scientists. But before we explore their starry heavens above, let me go back to where this started. Audible Recipes was an inquiry into the use of mobile technology for sharing recipes. This action research was the making of a recipe app that used audio to lead a novice cook through a recipe, leaving hands free for messy bakers and using a family member's voice to pass on knowledge and values. Learning a new skill like cooking increases cognitive load, and so communicating instructions audibly makes use of the parallel processing of our sensory and working memory. For me, passing on family recipes is about passing on values such as thriftiness, self-care, and the importance of family meals. Virtual reality has the potential to be a different way to communicate knowledge, as well as an opportunity to gather data to do this more effectively. My research explores how VR could be used to communicate Indigenous-centred knowledge of astronomy. My aspiration is to have a mobile VR experience that can travel to communities who would not normally have the chance to visit a planetarium. Players interact with the sky using their controllers as a sparkle torch. The visual sparkles with their evocative audio combine with haptic feedback to give the interaction a sense of the material for greater accessibility. The interaction design builds on players' internal motivation to create while giving them the autonomy to draw what they want. We used the platform Miro to take a visual design approach to collaboration, helping us cross the divide of education research and VR experience design. This research aims to generate knowledge through the experience for handling materials, through viewing design on a collaborative Miro board, and exploring VR in a sense experience. If education is not about an approved body of knowledge that students absorb, instead education is a process of leading novices into the world to learn and be taught by the world, an education of attention. The learning design for this VR experience is to facilitate meaning-making through encounters with digital heavenly artifacts. One of the aims of this project was to design a process we could trust. 3 by 3 week sprints, each with 1 week break, allowed my work as developer to be sustainable by building in these regular breaks to rest and restore. Each sprint, the changed product would emerge, leaving behind the hardened shell of a product release and process improved through practice. VR has a unique capability to incorporate sound and visuals designed for an emotional effect. This experience uses sound to prime the viewer, give a sense of place with the goal of building an emotional connection between the player and the stories. This research in the making has a story, and as maker, my story is intertwined in the design. But the stories of the stars that could be told on this virtual stage, none of these are my stories to tell. So how can a design protect the agency of the storyteller? Who owns the data we contribute to research? Who can make sense of our data? There is value in collectively making sense of our data. This was an agile retrospective on the Data Creativities project. This GIF shows a small part of our process data. We can see what feedback we're giving to the collective, seeing it in context, and we are making sense of our experience. In 2021, I'm looking to future iterations that record audio directly into the headset. The device is the story holder, and because the device is the only intermediary between storyteller and listener, the story can be in any language. The story is held on the device can only be shared through the passing on of a headset. This physical lock on the audio data is to empower storytellers. I've used mixed methods in this research. This GIF from our Data Creativities project talks about the methodologies used in data-driven research. My research practice draws on action research, making sense through making, using agile and iterative approaches, building on the principles of data science. This is an excerpt from another VR piece based on a childhood train trip. There is a privilege hazard in working with data and digital technologies. For example, very few of us have access to VR headsets. This year in research has challenged my assumptions. As I query who has the right to access our own data, who generates meaning from our data, and who can tell our stories. Research in art education can and should decolonise our approach to data collection to ensure research participants have access to their individual data, have privacy for the sensitive aspects of the data, and have the opportunity to co-create meaning from their collective data. I've taken this chance to think about my superpowers. I have fluctuating cognitive capacity which fuels my passion for accessible visualizations and informs the use of animation and audio to reduce the cognitive load when communicating new information. My superpower is I'm curious about how we can do data differently. If you're travelling back to 2021 to learn more about my research, please visit me at www.datacreative.org.